Are you thinking about moving to Lancaster, California? In this video, I'll break down exactly how much it costs to live here with specific examples. I'll also go into the differences between Lancaster and Palmdale to let you guys know how much it costs in each city and the differences between the two.
Yes!
Hey everyone, my name's McDonald and I'm a local realtor here in the Palmdale, Lancaster area. If you are thinking about relocating to Lancaster, California, make sure you give me a call. 213-271-4446, a text or an email, nick@goasknick.com. I'll make sure your move is easy and fun.
Yes!
So let's just start with the overall cost of living of Lancaster, California. They're at 112. Now this scale is based out of 100, while 100 is average for the United States. So you can see already Lancaster is a little bit higher than average for the United States. But if we compare it to Palmdale of 127, Lancaster is actually a little bit more affordable than Palmdale. In the housing category, you can see Lancaster's cost of living index is 125, compared to Palmdale's, which is 135. And that's because the median house price in Lancaster is $289, while in Palmdale it's $312. So that means you'll be saving $22,000 on average moving to Lancaster versus moving to Palmdale. Now utilities. Now this one's interesting because Lancaster has a higher utility cost of index of 115 versus Palmdale's 113. But if we break it down a little bit further, you can actually see that Lancaster on average has a slightly less electric bill at $169 a month on average, versus Palmdale has $175 on average. Now, I'm just speculating, but I believe that's because Lancaster is actually one of the solar capitals of the United States, and a lot of people in Lancaster run solar panels on the roof, which actually helps reduce their electricity bill. The reason why their utilities are actually a little bit higher, I believe, is because they have to pay a little bit more for heating, and let's be honest, cooling too. Because compared to Palmdale, Lancaster gets a little bit colder in the winter and it also gets a little bit hotter in the summer. And to keep your house comfortable, it costs a little bit more money to cool it and to heat it. Also, I mentioned this in my Palmdale versus Santa Clarita video. To save money on your electric bill during the summer, I recommend running a swamp cooler. It's great, it works well in this area. Also, make sure you have window coverings to try to keep that cool air inside of your house and that hot air inside and not escaping through the windows. That'll help you in both the summer and the winter to lower your utility bills. So let's jump over and look at transportation. Lancaster has a cost of living index of 119 versus Palmdale's 179. That is a significant difference between Palmdale and Lancaster. And the reason for it is that Lancaster actually has less super commuters. On average, 8.5% of all commuters in Lancaster are super commuters. Versus Palmdale, we're looking at 13.5%. That's a 5% increase in super commuters. So on average, people who usually move to Lancaster are commuting a little bit less. And that kind of makes sense because Palmdale's very close to the edge of the Antelope Valley, which means quicker access to Los Angeles. So super commuters on average move to Palmdale to super commute down, while Lancaster perhaps are commuting to Edwards Air Force Base or just locally within the Antelope Valley. So their percentage of super commuters is lower. So on average, their commute time is lower, hence transportation in general becomes less expensive. So depending where you work, this is going to be a big consideration on where you move. Do you want to drive a little bit more? Because if you're commuting down to LA, going back home to Lancaster is a longer drive than Palmdale. But if you're within the Antelope Valley, Lancaster is actually more centrally located. And in fact, it's actually closer to Edwards Air Force Base and some of the other large local employers. The average commute time in Lancaster is 32 minutes versus Palmdale's 42 minutes. So you're gonna save about 10 minutes on average in just commute time living in Lancaster and Palmdale. But like I said, this also depends on where you work. So we're looking at an annual car cost of about $6,000. This includes gas, oil change, tires, basic car maintenance. That's if you live in Lancaster. If you live in Palmdale, you're looking at about $8,000. So that's a $2,000 difference you can save living in Lancaster versus Palmdale. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about are just some of the other expenses. Healthcare costs the same in both Palmdale and Lancaster, and that makes sense because Lancaster actually has facilities closer to the west side. So I know a lot of people from Palmdale drive to Lancaster for doctor visits and whatnot. Versus if you're living on the east side, Palmdale actually has closer facilities, so it kind of goes vice versa, where people from Lancaster travel down to Palmdale because those facilities are closer, especially if you're going to Kaiser. Food also same across the board, but there is a little difference in taxes. In Lancaster, the cost of living index for taxes is 112. Versus Palmdale is 115. So that's a 3% savings you can have living in Lancaster, once again, versus living in Palmdale. And those are the big differences between Palmdale and Lancaster if you're moving here. Remember, if you're thinking about moving to the Antelope Valley, give me a call or text at 213-271-4446. I'll make sure to help you out and I can answer any of your questions. If you want to know more about the Antelope Valley, check out my other channel, What's Up AV, where I review the best food and the best family entertainment the Valley has to offer. Go check it out and tell me what you think.